Hi, my name is Scott Barnes.
Hi, my name is Casey Zawalin.
Jeffrey Denning.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Isaac Weiss.
Okay, first name Laren.
My name's Dave Allred.
Last name is Jones.
Martin Herrera.
I'm a former federal air marshal. I'm an author. I'm a veteran of Iraq. I'm a police officer.
I currently teach math at Roy Junior High. I've been here for 26 years.
I am a project assistant for a demolition company that is a family business.
I'm an entrepreneur.
I'm a retired soldier, now currently working in the financial services industry and building wood projects as a hobby.
I am a father.
I'm a father.
I am 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 a father.
My oldest child's Andrew, and he's a little bit over 2 years old.
I have one daughter. Her name is Emma Jane, and she is 17 months old. And then I have another son on the way.
So I have one son. His name is Camden, and he is just over 1 year. He turned 1 in January.
Jason is the oldest. Seems like life came easily to Jason. Jeffrey is second. He always seemed to fall in Jason's shadow for some reason. He struggled with absolutely everything in life. Emily has the biggest heart of anyone you would ever meet. Sean kind of took over for Jason. He figured that he was in charge since he was the youngest.
Andrew likes to have fun and learn new things. He recently decided that all of the magnets on the fridge needed to be cooked. So he got a chair and climbed up on the counter and pulled all the magnets off the fridge and put them in a pot and carried it around the house saying they're hot.
Okay, all of my children. My oldest daughter was Carrie Beth Jones, died in December of 2008, brain cancer. Callie Nicole Jones, she graduated from Skyview High School in 2003. That fall, she was diagnosed with brain cancer. She's still living, doing well. My oldest son is Sean, and my youngest son is Tyler Richard Jones. We share the same middle name.
You know, I actually, when we first got married, I told my wife that I wanted 6 kids because I came from a family of 6. And then after our first couple kids, I was a little, we were thinking. But anyway, we ended up with 6 kids. It's great.
Before I was married, I didn't want any kids. After we got married, I was gone a fair amount with the military, and my wife was at home all alone and lonely, and the dog wasn't enough to keep her company. She really wanted kids, and it was an easy transition to be able to be talked into having some children.
Yo quería tener 3 o 4 hijos.
We want however many kids Heavenly Father wants us to have, but we're planning on, and we feel like we're going to have 4.
We had expected 5, and I expected 2 girls, a boy, a girl, and a boy. And it was working really fine. We had 2 girls and then a boy. But then Patty was diagnosed with cancer on her vocal cords. And so she had chemo and radiation for that. And by the time we were in another place ready for a child, it sounds kind of weird, but I think we missed a girl in there.
So some of the expectations I have about fatherhood, I'd have to say it's a pretty big deal. I've had a few people close to me that haven't had the great experience with their father. My personal experience wasn't that way, and I see a big difference in it.
Before being a father, I had expectations that fatherhood was to provide for your family, and that was kind of it, you might say.
I think I was a little nervous. Actually, I was totally nervous. Trying to figure out, okay, what is dad supposed to do?
I figured kids were a lot like tools or instruments. You know, you enjoyed them, and then they sat quietly. And so that was probably one of my biggest shocks, is that kids don't need attention now and then. They need attention on their time schedule.
Once Andrew was born, I wouldn't say my expectations were way off. It was just kind of a slow, subtle realization that it's way different. It felt a lot nicer than I expected it to. I didn't expect that I could sit and hold Andrew for hours on end and just stare into his face when he didn't even know how to move his arms yet. And then it was really nice as that stage transitioned into him interacting a little bit.
I don't seem to be that different. I still, try hard to make sure that he is well taken care of.
My expectations were under what they should have been. I knew that there was going to require time and energy and effort, and it was well beyond what I could have imagined. I remember picking up a friend to go to a military activity and yawning, and he says, "What, are you tired?" And I said, "Yeah, I was up with the kid." And he goes, "Well, now that you've had kids, you'll never sleep through the night again." And he's been right.
Every child is really unique. I remember, when our first two were born, our first child is a daughter, and she was very girl-like, and then our second child was a son, and it was absolutely amazing to see the great differences.
I never expected anything to be clean ever again. And I never expected anything to be quiet ever again. And it was okay. Once I changed those expectations, it was great having kids.
My perspective on fatherhood has changed the last 2 weeks dramatically. It's a lot tougher than I thought. It's a lot harder when you have to get up every hour, every 3 hours, and change her and feed her and burp her, and it's a lot more patience.
When I first hugged my child, I was very happy to have her here, and I imagine I probably was crying.
My very first thought was, he's so fragile, I'm going to break him, I might drop him. But that was probably only like a tenth of a second. And then I was like, wow, this is so amazing.
When my first child was born, I didn't get to hold him right away. He was an emergency cesarean. He got whisked away, and I never really got to hold him until quite a bit later, until they got him breathing right. And he fought to get into this world and never really got to hold him. But once he was all presented to us and things were happy, you just melt. It's like this little person is a part of you, and both physically, biologically, but spiritually as well. They become part of who you are.
It was an incredible experience. She was all sticky and gross, but just seeing her eyes open for the first time, that was such a cool experience. Seeing that's what my wife and I created.
Cuando yo tuve a mi primera hija en mis manos, en mis brazos, ese ha sido el momento más feliz de mi vida. Es un poco difícil describir la sensación de la felicidad que tú sientes.
Having Camden has changed my life quite a bit, mostly for the good, the lack of sleep for the worse. But you start looking further ahead instead of just living, what are we going to do this weekend, or what are we going to do tonight? You start thinking about some of the goals you have in life.
I think every father goes through this. You think you're a patient, easygoing person. It's totally different to be married to your wife and to have a working, wonderful relationship. And when you add a kid, everything changes. And there's added responsibilities that you're still figuring out who takes care of what, who does what, when would somebody do this. And it's a whole nother dynamic. It's just like 3D versus 2D, and it just gets complex and difficult.
I am a better teacher because I had my own children. I am a better human because I have children who have made mistakes. I have become more compassionate because I lost a child. I have become more aware of people with loss in their lives because of our loss.
Lo más difícil de ser padre es perder un hijo. Perdimos una hija hace 2 años en un accidente. Lo ha fortalecido de manera que hoy les digo que los amo más seguido. Los abrazo, los disfruto más cuando estoy con ellos. Realmente como papás nada nos garantiza que los vamos a tener siempre o que nosotros vamos a estar aquí siempre. Como familia hemos aprendido de que estamos más unidos que antes.
We found out Carrie, my oldest daughter, had a brain tumor. And then she went through chemo and radiation, lost her hair. The left side of your brain controls the motor skills on the right. And the longer she went, about 4.5 years, the less control she had. And she finally got to the point where her brain was swelling and she lost her ability to communicate. And so it was Christmas time and Carrie finally let go. Every person has struggles. Sometimes it shows and sometimes it doesn't. But as a father, it is tough feeling helpless. And you know you've done everything you can, but it's not enough. And you gotta let go. And in a way, I'm very grateful because we had time and we knew it was coming, and that's okay. I feel bad for these parents that lose their kids to accidents. Just, you leave now and you never see them again.
My relationship with my dad is a really good one. He's one of my best friends. He just took the time and he wasn't embarrassed because he didn't know how to go fishing or how to go golfing. He wasn't embarrassed by all the other fathers that knew how to go do all those things. And so just that he was willing to take that embarrassment very well and just try. That was the most important part, is just to try.
My mom and my dad got divorced when I was really little, so I didn't really have a relationship with them. In fact, only maybe in the last few years I've kind of had a relationship with them, but it's still kind of a distance relationship, kind of a relationship on my terms. It's interesting. That's why I said I think just not sure what to do and how to be a father. And I look often to my uncles and to my grandpa, who my uncle lived across the street from me, and my other uncles always took me hunting and fishing, and my grandpa just lived around the corner from me growing up.
My father was an extraordinary man. I never met anybody who could think through a problem better, who could teach you how to do whatever it is that you were asking questions about, and a more committed person I could never have run across. And he was absolutely the inspiration and the person who I turned to whenever I had any questions about what should I do or how should I act as a father. I could just think back and think, what would my dad have done, or what did my dad do, and it came very easy. He was never really an easy person to talk to. He always set an extraordinary example, and so you always felt like you were trying to measure up. But yeah, fantastic and an extraordinary man who's now in his 91st year. A couple of things I learned from my father. One was a building trade. But on a more important side, I think what I learned most was how to be a good person and how to focus on my values. To ask the question, what should you be doing, instead of what are you doing?
I guess one of the things I wish I'd known before becoming a father was the way that my relationship with my wife would change. I knew that our time would be stressed a little bit differently than it was before. You don't always know, their opinions and their thoughts on child raising principles right off the bat. And so for the most part, we agree on things, but every once in a while it's not the same. She thinks one thing, I think another, and we try and find a middle ground, or we discuss why we think that a certain way of doing things is better than another, and try and see the other person's point of view.
I wish I knew how long delivery took. That was a long time. And I never held a baby before, so that was a new experience for me. My wife, during pregnancy, she's like, don't shake the baby, don't shake the baby. That's the number one rule, is just don't shake the baby. And so for the first time, the nurse She's like, do you want to hold your baby? I was like, I was pretty intimidated. But then she's like, put your arm like this and put your arm like this and don't drop her.
Before being a father, I wished I'd known how much it was going to cost. I'd have gotten a better job or become a military officer so I had more money. Yeah, there were times when money was thin and, you want to be able to provide for them and not just the necessities, but the comfort.
I wish I would have known and or understood being a father means a lot of time commitment, and that you are responsible for a huge portion of the load when it comes to when you're home. It's game on, and you're a dad.
The first thing that really comes to my mind is changing a diaper. I can't tell you how many times I got stuff on my fingers.
Before I became a father, I wish I'd known how to have fun, how to take a break. The first year with Andrew was a little bit hard because I'd pushed myself too hard until I was worn out. So I wish I'd known how to take a break and have fun.
I think the single most important thing my children could learn from me is commitment.
I often thought, hey, what could I teach my kids that I want them to learn? And I thought maybe I should put together a book and just write to them, because there's so much that I want them to know and to do.
Just expect one of the greatest things that can ever happen to you. Just having someone that just cares so much for you, and when they can tell that you're not feeling well, that you're sad, they want to make you happy, and they're just so great. I just love coming home and they're so excited to see you, and then being able to show how much you care for them.
I'd say spend time. Get a bedtime routine. Be there. Whatever it is, if you read, if you watch TV, if you cook, whatever it is you do with your kids, do it regular.
I like to tell future fathers that it's worth it. It's definitely worth it to have a child. That it will bring them the greatest amount of joy that they'll ever experience in their life. To see your kid smile for the first time, or to open their eyes, or to hold your hand.
Some of the most valuable information that a new father or a future father could know is that it's teamwork between you and your spouse. You need to make things work, you need to mesh things, you need to find a way to get everything taken care of.
For anybody who's going to be a future father, it's amazing. It's one of the greatest things that I've ever experienced in my life.
I think what I'd share to expectant fathers or fathers who are coming up is take the time. Enjoy it while you've got them, because they grow up way, way too fast. In the blink of an eye, they're gone and married and moved out, and you're enjoying the fact that the house is empty, but you kind of wish that the noise was back.
My advice to give to future fathers would be to, take care of their mothers, and to let the kids know that, your wife is the most important.
I am an amazing father.
I am a father in progress.
I am a wide father.
I am a new father.
I'm a father!